The economy is tanking. The unemployment rate is at an all-time high. Crime is rampant and the people are unhappy with the state of the world. A new breed of politician has taken over the United States of America. Now what am I talking about? Give it a wild guess. If you said 2020, you'd be close, but still not entirely correct. I'm outlining the lore that underpins the Purge universe. That's right, for a series that's been around for the better part of a decade, it made all sorts of eerily accurate predictions. James DeMonico's cautionary tale about guns, violence, and divisions within the US of A has captured the attention of genre fans across the world. Some of it is a little on the nose, some of it is scarily realistic. Ever since that first flick dropped, people have wondered, what if it was real? Hello fellow friends and philosophers, and welcome back to the most mind-bending channel on YouTube, Life's Biggest Questions. I'm your voice in the void, Keegan Hughes, and today we're going to take a look at a question folks have pondered since 2013. What if the Purge happened in 2020? Grab your weapons and masks, we're gonna learn. If you like thinking deeply about all sorts of topics, make sure to check out our biggest debated questions playlist that should be popping up on your screen right about now. Excellent, let's get started. The Purge. Although this series of movies and a TV show have only been around for a little while, the idea of a period of time where all crimes are legal has been floated for ages. People want their one a year. Folks spend their whole lives essentially following the rules, or being really good at looking like they're following the rules, and end up wanting to let loose. And what better way to blow off steam than by floating all conventions and going buck wild? It's like being a rowdy teen again, but with more murder and less hormones. What could go wrong? If all crime was legal for a day, something tells me that more people would commit tax fraud and steal luxury items than anything else. Even if murder is technically legal, most folks would probably balk at the opportunity to actually kill someone. And revenge is always on the table too. No kill has no strings attached, and most folks should know that. So if we really want an answer to this question, we have to revisit the origins of the Purge. That's right, it's lore time. The first Purge movie came out in 2013 and didn't give audiences too much info about the world it took place in. An upper-class family hunkers down in their secure house for the duration of the mayhem, but ends up taking in an injured homeless man. The group hunting this man down follow him to the family's house and demand his release, or things get extra ugly. And extra ugly things get. They eventually break in to kill the family and their mark, but end up getting the daylights knocked out of them by some gun-toting neighbors. Nice. Well, nice until the neighbors decide it's their right to kill the family they just saved. Would people really be this violent and depraved during a purge? I suppose if their communities had no real connections, yeah. But again, the world the purge takes place in really isn't elaborated upon in the first flick. A year later though, in a hypothetical 2023, we get more of that sweet, sweet anarchy. It seems as though the purge is working. Crime and poverty rates are down and unemployment numbers are dropping too. Wow, when you kill off a bunch of poor people, there are less poor people? Shocking development, am I right? Well, that's the kind of big brain policy you can expect from the new Founding Fathers, a quasi-religious political party that's taken America by storm. They're the ones who implemented the Purge in the first place, and it seems to be doing wonders for them. Now, when one imagines a purge, they probably think it's a totally unorganized, chaotic mess, right? Run out into the streets and brawl to your heart's content, loot stores, or even just stay home and wait it out. But no, the new Founding Fathers don't think that's acceptable. There needs to be death, and plenty of it. So they send armored death squads to help folks along on their journey to 6 feet underground. See, my prediction from earlier sort of rings true here. People really didn't have that many reasons to kill other people. Long simmering feuds and mutual hatred aside, most folks would just use the Purge as an opportunity to camp out in their bunkers and maybe grab a few extra boxes of Cookie Crisp at no additional cost. In fact, a lot of folks find that the Purge is bad for them and their neighbors, so they do their best to keep things as safe and orderly as possible. The government sees mutual assistance as weak and cowardly though, so let's send unmarked vans into heavily populated areas and make some people disappear. Wow. Where else do we see that happen? Let's move on, shall we? In the third Purge movie, we're shown even more of the Purge politics. A new presidential candidate is blazing trails attempting to stop future purges from occurring, so what do the sitting leaders do? Well, they change the rules. Now you're allowed to target politicians. Funny how that works. As that happens, we also learn that the average people are pretty fed up with the annual purges, seeing them as thinly veiled excuses to kill disenfranchised people and sell more insurance and weapons. Hell, the country's even making money off of murder tourism. So folks take to the streets and protest, which is met with equal force from the powers that be, resulting in riots. And the Purge itself hasn't even started. Then there's the first Purge, a prequel that outlines how it all began. A trial run was put into motion on Staten Island, and at first nothing crazy really happened. That's when the new Founding Fathers sent in some paid agitators to really up the ante. Now that we've run through all the movies, let's try to apply this to real life. If we go by the movie's timeline, the first Purge happened in 2017, which means real full-scale purges could realistically be happening by 2020. Let's even say that we would indeed be getting one this year. So, what would happen? Well, seeing how the anti-purge sentiment adopted arguments saying that the annual event encouraged class and race division, we can assume that the same would happen here. It already does, and that's without any murder holidays. There'd be plenty of blowback upon the announcement of a purge in 2020. Folks with weapons and connections would absolutely love the idea and run with it as far as they could. Everyone else would be terrified and would try to do everything in their power to prevent it from happening. But it would probably happen anyways. Thus begins 12 hours of total terror. The way 2020's gone so far wants us to wonder if we've been living through one long purge without even knowing it. Man, there's a lot happening at the moment that would affect the way a purge runs, too. COVID would definitely play into concerns. Sure, purgers are already wearing masks, but would they really want to run out into the street to kill people if it meant running the risk of catching corona? How would the nationwide death toll factor into the purge kill count? Would people be more or less motivated to go out and purge their inner rage during a global pandemic? What about the underlying tension between institutions and minorities? Would groups like BLM take to the street in the purge and attempt to prevent further deaths? Police are supposed to be absent during the runtime, but would they show up in plain clothes to act outside of the law? Would folks be gunning for the president? Unless our purge keeps a strict limit on high-ranking officials, I think that might be the case. In the end, it's more than likely that the purge in 2020 would play out in similar ways to the movies. Some folks would go nuts and run around committing every crime they could muster up. Others would have specific goals during that 12-hour period, whether that being taking out a longtime rival or snagging a luxury item they've been dreaming of. Nick Cage would head right on down and grab the Declaration of Independence, that's for sure. But I think people would also see the purge for what it really is, an indirect way for the government to exact power over its citizens. The people can act however they want, but in the end, big corporations and powerful figureheads will profit the most. In the same way that folks are starting to notice that a lot of wealth accumulates near the top, and those folks never seem to be negatively impacted by common issues, I think people would quickly get wise to the fact that only more vulnerable people are being killed en masse. At the end of all the chaos, all the CEOs and high-level politicians will return to their regularly scheduled programming, while all the folks at ground level are left to deal with the damage. Properties need to be insured and repaired, funerals for the fallen need to be arranged, and you can bet that that's all coming out of people's pockets. What can the big shots do? That's just a result of the purge. Everyone's got to eat costs where they can. So if the purge did happen in 2020, it would make things a lot harder for the average person and a lot easier for those at the top. And anyone who speaks out against this, well, just wait until the next purge. So, what do you think? Would all this doom and gloom come to life? Or would the purge actually help the world get along better? What would other countries think of the USA after putting this in place? Would you participate eagerly or try to help as many people as possible? Make sure you let me know down in the comments. Speaking of comments, let's take a look at some of your more palpable ones from What If Joe Biden Became President? Stormcuber says, warning, when you enter this comment section, you will enter the bias full of Biden and Trump supporters. You have been warned. Thanks for the warning. Let's make sure everyone knows what they're getting into here. Hopefully they don't start purging in the comments. Joe and Zed says, Europeans must be watching America RN like, ugh. Hey, not all Europeans look like that. Some of them do have noses. London James is a 33 says, well, if things go south, I will build a vault and probably stay there. And of course, I would restock food and water and ammunition just in case. Got room for one more? I have this wicked idea for a custom blue jumpsuit. Random Stupidity 2 says, what if puppets were alive like humans? Counterpoint, what if humans were dead like puppets? And Tony Yemine says, what if robots took over the world? Where have you been? We're already there. Long live the Amazon drone overlords. And that's all the time we have for today. Before I scream into the void for all eternity, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe for more street level violence. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.